Okay, if you're watching this live, it's a big night for Instagram. Tonight, the new privacy policy goes into effect. It's the first privacy policy administered by Meta rather than Facebook. And I took a peek. You can kind of see it here. The whole design of it is very different than it used to be. I'm apprehensive about what the contents are going to be. Who knows? It'll probably be dressed up and look really pretty and friendly. And for those who remember, there were a lot of twists and turns in the policy in the past, a lot of skewed language, a lot of misleading things, and I think it's been a really gray area that a lot of people have been kind of confused about in the past, and I don't blame them. But let me just wind it all back and start at the beginning. 10 years ago, there was a really rich environment for photography on the internet, and it was a beautiful place to share your work in a variety of ways, and things have really changed since then. I think we can all agree. Just from today, I want to pull this up. This was Kylie Jenner posted this today on her stories. Make Instagram again. Stop trying to beat TikTok. I just want to see cute photos of my friends. Sincerely, everyone. I think we can all agree with that. Thank you, Kylie Jenner, for standing up for photography on the internet. An unlikely alley, but I guess that makes sense because they do make a lot of money through that. Also today, the writer Madison Malone Kircher took a look at the new update. I guess she updated her app and said, scrolling through Instagram after the new update, now my friends are dead and gone. I don't know this, whatever song they're quoting or whatever, with this scene with, I don't remember the guy's name, whatever. I am going to avoid updating the app as long as possible. Honestly, I'd like to just get rid of the app as a whole at this point, but as we'll talk about later, there just doesn't seem to be much of an alternative when it comes to photography. Like I said, this is the first major policy update since Facebook rebranded to Meta, and I would really like to dive into it. I'm not sure what to expect, but there's only one way to really know what's in there, and that's to just go into it. So we're going to do that at the very end. We're going to look through all of it, or if you're on YouTube, you're going to see the most interesting bits of what we found. But first, I want to take a really good look at the backstory of, how the most popular photo sharing site on the planet lost its way. That's my little header. How do we feel about that? Okay. Actually, before we do even that, I wanted to post a picture of Albie. I think this could be an interesting barometer. I'll post this now. A lot of people have been talking about post engagement being way down, and we'll actually see that in the numbers later. I kind of wanted to see it for myself while we're doing this, so boom, post it. Okay. I think we should go straight into the timeline. Instagram launched in 2010. Before that, it was called Bourbon, which was a kind of a ripoff of Foursquare. And they found out pretty quickly that people really just wanted to share pictures. From the feedback that they got and from the numbers that they were seeing, everybody just liked sharing the pictures of where they were. So the founders, wanting to make a quick buck and have something really successful really quickly, they refocused their energies, launched Instagram in 2010, and 25,000 people signed up in the first day, and they had 10 million in their first year, which was insane numbers for those days. And it kind of still is. I mean, apps don't really get launched anymore. If you remember back then, it felt like there was an app every week something came out, but Instagram kind of blew up. So let's see what happened here. So in April 2012, Facebook buys it for $1 billion. Insane at the time. People thought it was absolutely crazy. And this is also when they first launched on Android, which is how I made my first post. This is, I think, the day it became available, April 19th, 2012. I posted a picture of this Dexter's Laboratory hip-hop album I found at the WSVA radio station where I worked at the time. I went to school at SVA. But the thing was, the purchase came with a promise, and this is super important. So here's the quote, right, from the LA Times article from 2012. Zuckerberg promised Systrom, the founder, one of the two founders, Kevin Systrom, that Instagram, which had just 13 employees at the time, could operate as an independent company. It was an unusual concession, but it was also the third time that Zuckerberg had tried to woo Systrom. It took a lot of bleeding and some fine negotiating from Zuckerberg to really make that happen. And I mean, obviously, it was the independence that really helped. The independence of direction and allowing the company to make its own decisions. Which is a really interesting point, especially since that seemed to change very quickly. In December 17th of that same year, Instagram announced a change to its terms of service policy, the first major one since Facebook bought it. Adding the following sentence right here. To help us deliver interesting paid or sponsored content or promotions, you agree that a business or other entity may pay us to display your username, likeness, photos, along with any associated metadata, and or actions you take in connection with paid or sponsored content or promotions without any compensation to you. So that's not a good deal if you're a photographer, especially, or whatever, or a human being. Everything you put up there, you're basically giving Facebook their products to sell to other buyers. Everything you post is a product. It's not your work. So that was kind of the fundamental point when people started to really freak out. But quickly, the next day, Kevin Systrom quickly clarified that annexing users' content was not part of the plan. And as always, you own your own photos and videos. The introduction of advertising won't change this. Now, I think it's really interesting that he said you own your own photos and videos and not all the other stuff that's in here, the likeness, metadata, actions you take. That obviously was still included in the products that they would sell. Anyway, this is kind of obvious. We already know all this, but it's interesting to kind of see it all back in history. And at the same time, if you remember correctly, it used to be this like lomography-esque, like diaristic thing, and companies started posting on there. And at first it was really weird. At the time I ran a publishing company, I refused to start a page for it because I just wanted it to be a personal social app. I didn't really feel comfortable selling things on there. I was kind of a Luddite in that regard. And by the time it kind of normalized to have companies on there, Moslems was already taken by somebody else. This is a current day shot of the page. Whatever, what are you going to do, But I remember reading all this and feeling really concerned about everything. And ever since, I felt really unsure about posting other people's work. I have a hard rule not to post anyone's work that's not mine. I know that a lot of people do that to show their inspiration and things like that. I think because of the terms of service, I think that that's kind of unethical because you're putting other people's work up to be products for Facebook to use. Even though, the efficacy of that is really debatable, I think it's still kind of, for me, I don't know. I don't really like, honestly, it's not for me. And I want to make sure I feel comfortable with whatever I'm doing on Instagram. Over the years, the app matures, we get used to it. The design starts to spruce up a little bit. And slowly, the focus starts to shift to video. Snapchat, which launched in 2011, really starts to blow up in 2015. And Facebook gets really fucking nervous. Sorry. I can say that. Facebook starts to get really nervous. Facebook famously gets really aggressive against them. And they tried to buy them like they did with Instagram. And when that didn't work, when they refused, yeah, you're right. Talking about Facebook and Meta does require cursing. Thank you, Jackson. When Snapchat refused, Facebook basically started to attempt to put them out of business by morphing their business model to eat them anyway. We see that in the CNBC article written in 2017. But if we follow the trajectory of these TechCrunch releases about what was going on, in April 2016, okay, this actually is just kind of a foundational thing that kind of sets the scenes for everything else. The algorithm launches on the news feed, whatever. That's a whole other conversation. But that was a fundamental step. And a couple months later, in August, they launched Stories, which we now use all the time, or I do at least. And then they launched IGTV 2 years later, which was an absolute flop. And then very shortly after they launch IGTV, Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger abruptly leave. Very quickly. And I think that's really interesting. The departure follows fellow Facebook acquisition WhatsApp's founders, leaving under much more grim circumstances, writes TechCrunch in this article. Brian Acton, who is a WhatsApp co-founder, cited Facebook privacy concerns among reasons for his departure, tweeting, quote, "Delete Facebook," amidst one of its recent scandals. Adam is Adam Mosseri. He's the person who took over IG. This is Adam Mosseri. He is an American businessman and the head of Instagram. He formerly served as an executive at... Huh? This was yesterday. Kind of funny. I thought that was kind of funny. He's this big guy and his wiki. I mean, whatever. Anyway, I'm sure he's a nice guy. So, years later, there's this incredible book that comes out about the whole development of Instagram, Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger, and how it all fell apart. And there's this quote from Nellie Bowles' review of this book. The book is The Inside Story of Instagram by Sarah Fryer. Zuckerberg comes off as controlling and cruel, maniacally focused on growth at the expense of all else. Systrom stayed on as Instagram chief executive, but Fryer outlines the ways in which their new owners began to undermine the founders, highlighting the clash in corporate cultures. But with this growth came the new worry that Instagram's success would cannibalize Facebook's, so Zuckerberg began to downplay Systrom's brand alongside Facebook's newsfeed. More upsetting, when Systrom tried to build protections against abusive comments, the ex-Facebook engineers on his team, reluctant to weed out opportunities for higher engagement, proposed controls that would be prohibitively hard to find and use. I find that very interesting, and that was interesting even before and today. If you remember before, when early on Facebook, there was like an invisible mode or something where you wouldn't be searchable, and you could just make connections with whoever you were comfortable with connecting with, and you were kind of non-existent on the platform otherwise. It was a great safety feature for a lot of people, and when they removed that, I became very unpopular with a lot of people in my high school because they soon learned I deleted a lot of them because they posted too much about Farmville. What are you going to do? Anyway, so Adam takes over Instagram. Not as CEO, because that's reserved for founders. Which is kind of funny if you think about it, because that goes completely against the independence of the company thing. Mark wanted to be in charge, is the point. A month later, TikTok becomes available worldwide. That's an important moment. So, introducing Reels. I don't need to say much about that. We all know what Reels are. Why did they launch Reels? Because Instagram post engagement started to tank the year before. Even though this title says Instagram's pivot to Reels tanked general engagement, and then this is from the same article. They're actually quoting Later's study, not input. Since Reels was launched here, I think this kind of defeats the point of the headline, but the real thing is that post engagement has been declining for 4 years now, and Reels was just a way to kind of get people away from posts and stay on the app by just like having something that was moving and, you know, catering to this new attention span, but really pulling away from photography more and more and more. And Meta, launched in October 2021, loses $200 billion overnight in early 2022, this year. And Zuckerberg reportedly cries at the earnings report meeting. Here's the quote. Meta CEO Zuckerberg is definitely not freaking out about his company losing a quarter of its value this week. As such, he certainly wasn't crying in that staff meeting where he attempted to process Meta losing more than $200 billion overnight. He just scratched a cornea or something. That's not even a joke. Zuckerberg actually tried using this line to lighten the mood, given that his eyes were actually red and teary. That's what one employee in attendance told Bloomberg, at least. Zuck took time during the meeting to explain that the historic loss of capital was a direct response to Meta's lower than expected revenue forecast for the first quarter of 2022. At its lowest point, Meta lost an incredible $251 billion in value following the company's latest financial report. That means Zuckerberg's own pile of gold lost somewhere between $31 billion. To be fair, we'd probably be tearing up a little bit too. But wait, there's more. Zuckerberg told employees during the meeting to focus on Meta's video products, like Instagram Reels, as a way to recover from the week's flailing. We are once again pivoting to video. Beautiful. So this year, obviously, Instagram is pushing video harder and harder, driving further and further away from photo sharing. I love this little tweet. Why do they hate social media managers specifically? Got to change strategies and recommendations every day. As someone who has done a lot of social media work for companies, as a digital media producer in the past, that's something that really pissed me off, and it's why I don't work in social media anymore as much as I can avoid it. It is so annoying to prep stuff, and then a week later, all of the formats change. All the ways things are algorithmically pushed or changed. Let's not even talk about how Facebook decimated local publishing, blogs. The history is all there, and there's been a lot of chatter about it today, actually, especially since Ryan Broderick posted his article, which I will look at later. And also, this is something that I just saw today as well. Rebecca Jennings article. This was from March. Nobody wants more crappy videos on Instagram. Too bad. Creators hate making videos more than their audiences hate watching. But Instagram, Facebook is not reading articles like this. You know, obviously they're just looking at data. And apparently data is more important to tell us what we want. Anyway, one thing that's really important to know is now every video on Instagram is a reel. All videos are vertical now. I think that applies even to past videos. I'm gonna have to check that. Like I said, I don't want to update the app, so I don't want to check it now. But I believe that, as far as I'm aware, all videos are now reels. But there's more, right? Masseri posted with this update clip. This is the Reels video merch. That's what that is. Reels templates, remix improvements, dual camera. I don't know. That's interesting, but whatever. Remix is crazy. What remix is you can remix any existing post. This just launched. This is going to launch tomorrow for everyone, supposedly. I think this is probably covered in the policy that I really want to look at. You can remix any existing feed post. Now, you have to opt out if you don't want people to do this, but everyone is automatically opted in. So if you are a creator who is, here.
We've been trying to make Instagram do better by video while still doing right by photos long term. And this week, we have a number of announcements about how to improve Reels on Instagram. The biggest being that we're going to now have one video format on Instagram. The second is a number of improvements to remixes. One I'm particularly excited about, because photos are so important to Instagram, is the ability to make a Reels remix from a photo, which I think is a pretty cool idea. But there's other improvements to the remixes,
just kind of
new
over.
formats. So
who knows? I mean, I'm really curious where this will go. But one thing that's really cool here, you guys probably already saw this, but 99 likes makes sense, and then over 1,000 likes. We want photos, over 2,000 likes. Photos are better than Reels. So we are, us photo kids, we're not the only ones. We're not the only ones who miss an Instagram that was just about pictures, and that put pictures first. Bring back photos. No, I'm getting so many suggested posts, and I hate it. This isn't TikTok. Stop trying to be TikTok. Oh my God. Music to my ears, all of these comments. I wonder how Adam feels about this right now. Instagram is failing photographers and artists big time. You mentioned doing right by video creators and photos, but then discuss features that are all about videos. We went through this earlier. Even Kylie Jenner is really upset. As Ryan Broderick pointed out here in his Substack, photographers in particular are not happy about this, but the feature also seems tailor-made to abuse and harass people. One person told me they've already seen the feature being used to populate a catfish account. This is really bad. And for photographers, this is really bad as well. We have yet to see how that's going to affect people in a larger sense, but I don't know. I'm very apprehensive about this. Sure, there's going to be some fun ways that people are going to use that. Sure, that's going to lead to some kind of increased engagement of those posts. Who knows? But I'm very skeptical about the benefits of it. Even if it's just 1% of those cases being really bad for people, that's a lot. When we're talking about a user base this large, that's a lot of bad incidents. Let's see here. There's some follow-up tweets that I saw Ryan post. I could actually really sympathize with longtime creators on both Facebook and Instagram. Meta terrorizes them, constantly turning off access to their own followers, often without warning, all because the company's algorithmically moderating platform is too big to manage anymore. One longtime Facebook creator told me a story I've now heard a bunch. They had a blog. They started a Facebook page for their blog. The link posts of their blog stopped getting likes. They went all in on native content. The blog died, and a newsfeed tweak then killed their page. I have seen this happen. It happened to me. It happened to a lot of people around me. It happened to businesses I worked for, and it decimated a lot of people's careers. And I'm dead serious about that. Like I said, that side of things is a whole other conversation. Let's stick to what is the future of IG and what is the future of photos on the internet. Because I want to know what you guys think. There's no alternative app that I know of that caters to photography. I mean, there was Flickr, but like I said, that was kind of pulverized by Yahoo. There was Tumblr, same thing. There was Visco, but that has a really small and specific target audience now. I think it had some really amazing things that photographers were really benefiting from for a certain time. It was great for protections because a lot of people who especially young women who were the targets of unsolicited harassment. It was a great platform for them, but it was still quite small, and I don't think it's ever really expanded beyond that. I've heard of an app called Glass.photo, but I think that one takes itself too seriously as well and has never really made an impact. I don't really know of a good image sharing site, and if you guys know anything or have any thoughts about this, I'd love to hear it, whether you're commenting in my live feed now or, on YouTube later. I'm new to this, so I'm not expecting a barrage of comments, but I'd be really curious. Twitter. Yeah, no, Twitter, but is Twitter really a space for photography? I don't know. I mean, for memes maybe, but I'm thinking specifically for photography, right? And that affects us as image makers. I come from an image making background, but there's a lot of other people who do image first stuff as well, who aren't photographers, who also could really benefit from having an image social sharing app, the kind that Instagram used to be and the kind that Tumblr used to be. I think Tumblr still has potential for rebirth. I don't think they're making the right steps to do that. I mean, I think hypothetically they can. I don't think they will. Now, before I move on, though, I do want to remember Roman Mazurenko, who died in November 2015, who was a friend of mine. He really wanted to basically build that app. You might remember Stampsy. That was an early website of his. Which was a page for sharing photography, and that was really, really neat. It was kind of a niche, and I used it to great effect. I really liked Stampsy, and it had a lot of promise. It had a lot of curatorial ingenuity to it, but he wanted to do something bigger, and he wanted to take down Instagram as a better competitor. And he had the energy and the brilliance to do it. And I will say I was going to work with him to do that. And it was incredibly heartbreaking to hear months after it happened that he was killed in a hit and run when he was renewing his visa, shortly after he had spent a couple weeks in New York, where he met me and a couple other people. We had a lot of really incredible conversations. So I just want to remember him. And let's quickly look at this Verge piece about him. This is hard for me. This is a really interesting story in its own right, because his closest friend made an app to remember him and to basically be a chatbot using his voice. It's really profound. But this also goes through Roman's life, his interests, what he was doing, his ambitions, and some of his other stuff that didn't make it. He got a meeting with Y Combinator to make this. Let's see here. This is really, really cool. He's such a beautiful man. I actually didn't even know this until recently, because I couldn't read this before. So with Stampsy almost out of cash, Mazurenko applied for a Y Combinator fellowship, proposing a new kind of cemetery that he called taiga. The dead would be buried in biodegradable capsules, and their decomposing bodies would fertilize trees that were planted on top of them, creating what he called memorial forests. A digital display at the bottom of the tree would offer biographical information about the deceased. Redesigning death is a cornerstone of my abiding interest in human experiences, infrastructure, and urban planning, Mazurenko wrote. I know this is a really weird, kind of like intense concept, and maybe like difficult to incorporate into this conversation right now, but I think in terms of in the future ecology, I think there will be a time where we have to rethink how we bury the dead, and this was just like a beautiful, brilliant idea that was very thoughtful. I believe that he would have been the solution to this, but we would have been better off, because he would have built it in such a way that Instagram would have been forced to compete in a way that would have benefited image makers, and he was aware of that. Let's get back to it. So, we are left with an Instagram and an internet now that is inhospitable to photography, quite frankly. Obviously, you can post photographs as much as you like. These things are still possible. No one's arresting you, no one's stopping you from sharing images on the internet. But I'm talking about something that we all know from experience can exist and should exist, but rather we also as creators really have a right, to some extent, of having some control over that format and not getting jostled left and right from that constantly changing. Personal frustration of mine and many other people. But now I think it's important to move on. I think it's important to look at case laws that exist about photography on the internet. I'm not going to dawdle on this too long because it's very boring, but it's important. At the moment, anyone can embed anything on IG feeds. That case was decided. Instagram hosts and transmits the content, which means the third parties Sites can't be liable for copyright infringement, and anyone who signs up for Instagram agrees to its terms of use, which grants a, quote, non-exclusive license to publicly reproduce and display the content the user uploads and posts to their account. There's no going around that. It's not all bad news, though, because this lawsuit, combined with pressure from the NPPA, led Instagram to allowing users to disable embedding for whatever that's worth. So at least we have that, right? That being said, though, this case is going back to the judge. This is new. This happened a couple weeks ago. But I don't know if it really stands a chance. Does the new privacy policy offer insight? Maybe we'll see. I don't know. This doesn't really give me any information about whether or not they actually have a case. It doesn't sound like it. What they're really arguing is that the internet has changed, and relying on the 2007 server test, they're saying it's outdated. We'll see. I think they'll have a hard time arguing the fact. After all, this is all down to the policy terms that we agree to. So that's hard to budge. Then there's the other side of things. When it comes to posting existing photographs, there's no established ruling that I know of. So I'm talking about taking an existing picture and posting it on Instagram, right? Not really what we're here to talk about, but it's relevant, so I just want to go through that real quick. So infringement lawsuits come up all the time, but they are always settled out of court. As far as I'm aware, that has been the case every single time. And here is a non-exhaustive list on the Fashion Law blog of all of the cases that are current and former on this, and almost all of them are settled. The ones that aren't settled just haven't concluded yet, or I don't know, maybe they weren't updated. Fashion is like a uniquely common space for that to occur. But there's a really interesting one in between that people might be familiar with, and that's Emily Ratajkowski's case. She actually has multiple forays into infringement law. But the one that I want to talk about is the one where she infringed a paparazzo by posting a photo of herself that they took, posted it on her stories. It wasn't even her first infringement case at the time, but she decided to take this one to court to fight it out. Interestingly, though, the case couldn't be decided by the judge. This is just like a crop of it. The court left the critical issue of fair use up to a jury, but in light of the parties' pending settlement agreement, no such jury trial will come into play. So basically, they had already pre-agreed that if the judge couldn't decide and it went to jury, they would just go to settlement. And the judge was, I think, right in not being able to decide that. I mean, that's just how the language of the privacy policy is. It is that vague that and difficult to work around. I mean, the fact that it was on stories helped the case, since it was just a temporary post, and that was in the judge's ruling. Anyway, if anybody knows any other cases, please let me know. I would love to read them. As you can tell, I'm a freak nerd about this shit. Okay. Even though we're here to talk about photography, I also want to talk about shadow banning for a little bit, which is also a fraught topic. Not just for photographers who post nudes, but for all kinds of meme makers as well. And just this weekend, Instagram meme page admins handcuffed themselves to Instagram's New York City headquarters in protest of the platform's content moderation guidelines. And here's a beautiful picture of them. One is holding a Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce.
Sweet Baby Ray's. Sweet Baby Ray's.
Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, baby.
Sweet Baby Ray's. We have just applied the Sweet Baby Ray's. Sweet Baby Ray's.
I love this video. I've seen it so many times. Also, Kelsey Weekman made a comment on that story, and I thought that she was really right to point out that social media is part of the public sphere now. We all exist online nearly as much as we do in tangible life, and what they do to us is such a crucial part of our existence that creators deserve to have more say in what happens to our accounts. So I'm going to actually go through this article. And honestly, they're right. It's true. Mark Zuckerberg hates beautiful women and big naturals. What the fuck does this mean? Zuck, let me call you a bitch on your own platform, fuckwad? In solidarity with my fallen oomphs? These are quotes from her. The art world runs on exclusivity and money. For creators and artists who don't come from privilege, we can get a shot at independent survival on this platform, but our success is in the hands of an unfair moderation system. I got through all that a lot faster than I thought I would, and I'm very glad I did. Actually, you know, just want to point this out real quick. This page I'm using here, this is called Sprout. I haven't seen this being used by anybody else yet, but this is a really cool, independently built website that allows you to create these things. But anybody can jump into this. If you guys want, I can drop the link in here right now. But you could just like, you can draw here. You can put like a face. Whoops. Done. Oh, that's a really sad face that I made accidentally. Hey, Cameron's in here. But yeah, no, it's super cool. You can add stuff too if you want. You can add some funny memes. I was really excited to maybe browse the whole privacy policy here together. Then we could like doodle on it together. Oh, there it is, Sweet Baby Rays. But unfortunately, this doesn't work yet, the browse web feature. But a really cool thing, and I'm going to be using this a lot more. Shout out to Sprout. I am stalling, can you tell?
How you are. You just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it.
Zoom is shambles. Somehow I doubt it. I am obviously not going to read every single word here. That would be insane. So I'm going to gloss through a lot of it. I'm going to watch some of these dumb videos, and then I'm going to try to find the interesting things. So, outside effect of the pandemic, Figma walked so Sprout could run. I think you're onto something. All right, so this is effective tonight. Midnight, I'm assuming. I don't know exactly what time. We have 11 people here. Holy shit, let's go. It's a party. I really don't want to do this. What is the privacy policy and what does it cover? Oh, this is going to be like nails on chalkboard. Like I said, I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to read the very beginning. We at Meta want you to understand what information we collect and how we use and share it. Let's see how this works. Okay, it's not a new page. Okay, it's a pop-out. This covers Instagram, including apps like Boomerang. Interesting that they're still trying to Boomerang. Oculus, interesting. So everything falls under all of this. So all the things that apply to Instagram will feed into everything else, including Shops, Marketplace, Spark AR, Business Tools, Audience Network. I don't know what NPE Team Apps is. I don't know what Facebook View is either. I'm sure I will find out. Not today, though. Oh, God. Let's see what they have.
At Meta, we use information to provide you with a more personal, secure, and meaningful experience. But where does that information come from? The information we collect comes from a variety of sources. One is your activity on Meta product, apps, services, and hardware. Things like liking an Instagram post, playing a game on your Meta Quest 2, buying something through Marketplace, or sharing fundraisers on Facebook all generate information. And
This makes me want to die. I feel sick. I know that it's friendly and all, but this is so excruciating.
Sometimes businesses also share information with us, like your activity on their websites. They may also share experiences you have offline, like signing up for a rewards card with your email address. This makes it easier for them to share promotions, product information, and other ads with you through our apps, consistent with the choices you make. We know that people want to understand and control what we do with this information. That's why we offer a number of ways to help you personalize and manage things the way you want. For example, maybe you've been shopping around for a new mattress and finally found the one. Now that your hunt is over, maybe you don't want to see ads from certain mattress brands anymore. If so, you can go to Ad Preferences and hide ads from those specific advertisers, or manage your ad settings.
Yeah, it's actually really funny. So often I'm so offended that they're always taking my information, using it for their own benefit, but then I get ads that are for things I already have or I'm not interested in, and I'm like, come on, do better. You should know Be My Now.
For that rewards card, by signing up, you may start seeing deals for their products popping up. Using Off Facebook Activity, you can view a summary of the information Facebook receives about your activity on other apps and websites and choose to disconnect it from your account. When it comes to your information, we're here for you.
It's just so normal now. This is crazy to me.
And choose to disconnect it from your account.
That's the interesting thing, right? Is like Facebook harvests data from outside, but other outside companies harvest a lot of stuff as well. Facebook sells that stuff, and that gets used by those places, and that's not something that this is showing necessarily. This whole presentation is in the guise of neutrality and transparency. We'll see if they show something like that. Okay. Games used, games you play, blah 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 blah. Okay, I don't use Facebook. I deleted my Facebook years ago, so I can't actually look. Wait, if I If I use Instagram only and I don't have a Facebook and I want to change my settings, I need to have a Facebook. Wait, that's really fucked up. Wait, I need to dig into that. This remains to be seen. Huh. Because this is a catch-all, right? They said earlier that all of these things here apply to all of these different websites that Meta has. But here, it seems like you can only change it on Facebook. That's a little sus. That's a little sussy. All right, another amazing video. What's the title? How do we use your information?
Every person on Facebook is unique. In fact, there are billions of people on Facebook spread across countries, continents, and cultures, and no two are alike. So it only makes sense that the service Facebook offers is a completely personalized experience based on all the things that make you, well, you. To do this, we use information to learn more about the things you might be into. This information is based on a number of sources, like how you use our products, and it helps us create a Facebook experience that is number of sources, like how you use our product.
Yo, that dude is looking at the balloon! Send him some balloon ads! He needs balloons! He likes balloons. Look at him looking at that balloon. I'm looking at his iris, looking at the balloon. He must like balloons.
And it helps us create a Facebook experience that is built around your interests. For example, we might use the location you've set as your hometown on Facebook to recommend a local group for you to join.
Do I need to go into politics? I don't want to. I'm just...
Or if we see that you've liked some South Asian food pages, we might suggest some specialty stores or cookware retailers in your area.
Now that I'm down for.
Your information also helps us to provide a safer experience for everyone using Meta products and devices. This includes protecting others on Facebook by monitoring for harmful content. We also use your information to improve your experience, like by making sure content is shown in a language that's common in your location. When it comes to your information, we're here for you, and helping you understand how your information is collected, used, and shared is our responsibility. So whether you're messaging, posting, shopping, liking, or sharing, we're committed to helping you have the best experience possible across all of our apps and products.
Okay. How we use information? I want to see more about like the guy looking at balloons. It's so vague. I mean, they're really not even telling me what technology they're going to be using to do that. We can assume that they're probably looking at what our eyes are looking at. We know TikTok famously is doing insane, crazy things, gathering information. I really wish that they did a better job of explaining these things. And this is the page where I'm supposed to learn this stuff, right? And this is all just so, like, surface level. It's just like, oh, don't worry about it. We're just doing a vague thing. I don't know. Whatever. Let's see, for instance, what this takes me to. The information we collect about you. Okay, so it just goes back there. I feel like they packed this with so many links. It's like really discouraging to try to look into it. But, you know, the more I'm clicking, the more I'm realizing there's actually very little here. How people interact with their content. Okay, see, this is all we're getting in terms of how that happens. I'd really love to know how they do that. What specifically are they using and collecting? What's an integrated partner? Pray tell. Businesses and people who can use our products to advertise, market, or support their products and services. When they use our products, we call them our partners. I need to know what Metapixel is. Metapixel, I guess, is a secret line between that website and Facebook, so anyone who goes to that website, all that information about what website they came from, what they're doing on this website, what kind of platform they're using, and so on, that all gets sold to Facebook, basically. That's what I'm assuming, just from a quick reading of this. How long can they access your information? Unless it appears to us that you haven't used the app or website in 90 days. So presumably, if you keep using that app, they're saying they can keep accessing that for as long as they want. Note that even if an app's access to your data has expired, it can still retain information you shared with it previously. Interesting. When you interact with someone else's content on an integrated partner's product or service, for example, a gamer live streams to Facebook using a partner app. Then you comment on that live stream. The app developer will receive information about your comment. Now, interestingly, this is quite vague, what that information is, but presumably it comes with all that metadata that we were talking about earlier. So again, they're being delightfully vague about what the content is they're selling. Presumably, they're trying to avoid the same kerfuffle that happened here in 2012 when they were so kind to be specific about exactly what they're going to be selling. They're smarter now. They've learned their lessons. Integrated partners handle the information you share with them according to their own terms and policies, not Meta's. Huh. That's very fucking interesting. They have every right and opportunity to enforce their own guidelines on how to use data that they offer. But they're like, nah, we can't. You can review their privacy policy on their website or app to learn how they receive and process your information. However, we don't necessarily know who these partners are, because anyone who does business with Facebook, who buys data from them, is a partner. They're not necessarily someone that you as a user are using. You may never have had any encounter with them. I mean, who's ever been to Cambridge Analytica? So that's very interesting. When you delete content, it's no longer visible to other users, but presumably they still own it. It may take up to 90 days to complete the deletion process after it begins. Copies of your content may remain after the 90 days in backup storage that we use to recover in the event of a disaster, software error, or other data loss event. We may also keep your information for things like legal issues, terms violations, or harm prevention efforts. But this, remember that the word "like" is just saying this is just some of the reasons. We also have other reasons. Why is information transferred to other countries? Nobody asked. Why did they say that? Okay. We share the information we collect globally. Because Meta is global with users, partners, and employees around the world, transfers are necessary for a variety of reasons. This is really interesting to me. Because a lot of countries have different data protection laws, right? So maybe some countries have laws that require you to delete certain things. Meta could easily be like, hey, let's transfer it to Brazil or wherever country that has easier, more lax laws. Let's host it on a different server so that we're protected and we can just host things. We can keep things in a secret database for as long as we want. This is basically saying that they can just do that willy-nilly. That's really interesting, actually. I never thought about that. We have infrastructure or data servers, including the United States, Ireland, Denmark, and Sweden, among others. Who knows where else? Probably they name the ones with the strongest protection laws for a clear reason. How do we respond to legal requests? We access, preserve, and use your information in response to legal requests like search warrants, court orders. How will you know the policy has changed? We'll notify you before we make changes. Privacy notice for California residents. How to contact Meta with questions. Okay, that's the end of that. Now there's this whole table of more specific stuff. So why and how we process your information is on the left. This is so confusing. This whole structure. Okay, information categories we use. What is this table? Why information? What information? Okay. What is this structure? I don't understand. Okay, so anything you make. Anything? Device signals? Everything else you've been doing that day on your phone? Identifiers that tell you device apart from other users. Remember how they were like, yeah, we don't give them your name and your email. We give them everything else. Everything. Literally everything. I mean, I can't think of anything that they're not taking. What else is there? Okay, so this table, the structure is really destroying me right now. Okay, so everything under the sun is like Meta internal. Okay. Again, everything. Wait, what's different about this? Okay, so this is the content and your notifications. This is for the systems. Okay, I'm starting to understand what's going on here. Okay, again, everything under the sun seems like on and off Meta products. Okay, this goes to vendors, outside vendors. Everything. So including the cops and presumably like data harvesting companies. Communications with you, less. They don't need as much to talk to us. Transferring, storing. Okay, so all the stuff they store in any country, everything. So your photographs that you're posting on Instagram are being stored on servers in countries, presumably, with lax protections. I'm not crazy for making that inference, because they're implying that that's possible through this. This is absurd. This is insane. It's just awful because I've gotten as far as I have in the fine art world because of Instagram, pretty much. Yeah, everyone who knows me because of the work I used to do on the internet. On Flickr first, then Tumblr. Well, actually, if we go way back, DeviantArt, but I'm not friends with anybody there anymore. Who networks on this now? I don't make new connections on Instagram. That doesn't happen. It's just like a business card page that you have to send people and make people look at. But also Instagram wasn't for that. But they destroyed other websites that did do that. They cannibalized almost every other corner of the internet where we were able to do that, where there was this decentralized artistic network. Those have all been pulverized. And it's not just Facebook. I mean, Yahoo is to blame here too, but they're just stupid. Okay, where were we? Process information subject to special protections under applicable laws that you provide. Under applicable laws that you provide. Applicable laws that you choose. We don't provide laws. Okay. So presumably this is for religious folk and people like that, so they can tailor the content to be more suitable towards your religious tastes. But I'm really curious in what kind of abstract ways that this gets processed. Providing measurement, analytics, and business services. Our systems automatically, as well as some human processing. Process information that we have collected. God, I'm dying out here. Everything, again. We provide aggregated user analytics and insights that help businesses, advertisers, and other partners. Okay, again, this is like they're sending everything to anyone they want, and they have the right to do whatever they want with that, as we have seen earlier. Great. Yikes. Sharing of information across the Meta companies. Okay, so anything goes to anyone within Meta. But considering that Meta Audience Network is kind of tied in with partner companies, third-party data services, this again is like a super vague, oh God, where was I? Oh no. They just have it, they can do it in so many ways. Hold on. Guess I will only release my work in books from now on. Goodbye, internet. Be our Sherpa to the offline world. No longer bound to the internet. Well, listen, here's an interesting thing, right? I think if you really want to share your work on the internet, but you really want to also have it in books, the best thing to do is to put it in a book, photograph the book, and put that online. Because that's an artifact of the book itself. At that point, that image basically gets sent all over the world, you know, and Facebook can do with it whatever they want. But it's an image of the photograph, right? You no longer give the crucial element of the photograph away. And this is what's really key. I should have mentioned this earlier when I was talking about why I don't post work by other artists, which I see a lot of curators and editors and so on do, because you're basically giving Facebook that product. If you take an image of the photograph, you Sherry Levine it, you don't give Facebook the right. That's why actually if you go to my website, I don't think my work is like valuable per se, but if you go to my website and you look at the work that I've made, you won't see the photographs as images here. They're all images of them in use, like on the wall or in the book. Again, I'm not really worried about people ripping me off, but this is a way that I can protect my copyright. And honestly, it looks dope. I mean, when you see the thing in use, it looks so much more interesting than just as a JPEG. In some cases, we anonymize information we have associated with you, in some cases, such as your activity on or off. So they're saying sometimes this is anonymous. Okay, so basically all of my suspicions are, and worse, are all true. This is crazy. Okay, this is the NARC clause, which could include the following in response to legal requests from third parties such as civil litigants, law enforcement, and other government authorities. Civil litigants too, okay, interesting. So it's a pretty low bar. Again, everything, but I think that goes without saying at this point. Okay, this is a little longer. For processing information when the law requires it, NARC clause number 2, a nice handy tool for cops. In case you're a cop, this is where you want to be. If you're a cop and you want to know more about how to get information about your ex-wife, this is where you should go. To make it a little easier for the cops to understand, they can just go to this side of the table. It's broken down a little bit more for you. For civil matters, this will typically include limited information, such as contact details and login information. Okay, dude. Yeah, you know, for civil cases, you know, we'll give you the login. Yeah. I'm honestly really shocked. For civil matters, we'll give you the login. Not even just criminal. wait. This is it. That's the last one. I can't believe they didn't even bury it, like hide it in something else. The worst one is right on the bottom. I'm not even trying to stir drama. Like, I'm legitimately shocked to see this. I didn't even expect to see something like this. I'm more interested in like photo rights. That's it. We're at the bottom. We have made it. Other policies. What the hell? What's on more terms and policies? Okay. Terms of service. Okay. Okay. But you cannot use Facebook if you're under 13. Wait, I didn't know that. Is that true? I also didn't know you couldn't use it if you're a convicted sex offender. You're prohibited from receiving our products under applicable laws. I don't even know how that works. Oh, this is like in China, certain apps are not allowed. I think is Instagram banned? I forget. This is probably that. You may not access or collect data from products using automated means. That's actually kind of interesting. Without a prior permission. And stay out of our Seychelles archive. Okay, if we remove content that you have shared in violation of our community standards, this is actually so much more interesting already than the entire content policy so far. Okay, the permissions you give us. Boom. Okay. Now we're getting to the good stuff when it comes to photos. C. Permission to use content you create and share. Some content that you share or upload, such as photos or videos, may be protected by intellectual property laws. Maybe. You own the intellectual property rights. Things like copyright or trademarks in any such content that you create and share on Facebook and other Meta company products you use. Nothing in these terms takes away the right you have to own your content. You are free to share your content with anyone else wherever you want. However, to provide our services, we need you to give us some legal permissions known as a license to use this content. This is solely for the purposes of providing and improving our products and services as described in section 1 above. Okay, specifically when you share or post or upload content that is covered by intellectual property rights or in connection with our products, you grant us a non-exclusive, transferable, sub-licensable, royalty-free, and worldwide license to host, use, distribute, modify, run, copy, publicly perform, display, translate, or create derivative works of your content consistent with your privacy and application settings. This means, for example, that if you share a photo on Facebook, you give us permission to store, copy, and share it with others, again, consistent with your settings, such as service providers that support our service or other Meta products you use. This license will end when your content is deleted from our systems, but as we know, by their own policy, they may not ever delete it, and they may also move it to whatever the country they want to. And they also can just give that to whatever product partner they have, and those product partners, like data harvesting sites, have their own terms, and Meta has no interest in asserting their own rights and terms to them. So basically, they can do whatever they want with those images. Facebook won't stop them. So basically, if you upload a photo to Instagram or anything under the Meta sun, you keep your intellectual property, but that's it. Anything can happen to that image at that point, and they can make as much money as they want in whatever way they want with that image. So somebody could, remix it, make fun of it, do whatever they want with it, make money off of that, and you would have no protection. I know. This is really dumb. Okay. But that's kind of it. Okay, yeah, no looping on Facebook Live. Okay. Damn. There goes my whole business plan. Big takeaways. First of all, my brain is a bowl of mush right now. Yeah, we hate it here. So, big takeaway, we hate it here. Okay, let me actually put that. We hate it here. Oh, they're narcs. They don't give a fuck about image sharing anymore. Hold on. They do. They don't care about the culture of it. That's the important thing. I also want to add here, they encourage people to use your content and remix it. This, I just want to copy paste this part, this here. That's kind of wild with it. You know, I'm glad we're doing this together because there's no way I could have done this alone. I'm just going to leave it at this. And I think that there's probably more takeaways that I picked up on that I've already forgotten about. But the most important thing is, I think honestly, if you really care about your images and you don't want to lose your license to those images, which means that you don't want other people to shit on your images or sell them or use them for whatever purposes, do not post them on Instagram. What you can do instead is make an image of your photograph, right? Do the Sherry Levine and put that online, because that gives you the legal protection for your original. Yeah, my brain is broken. I don't know what else to say. What I am going to do though, I'm going to look at the Albi post, see how it's doing. This is 25 likes. It's been 2 hours. I know it's not the best picture, but my 25 likes on a cat picture? I wanted to see how much natural engagement it would get without me posting this to my stories. Because that's what everybody has to do now to get engagement on their posts, right? You have to juice it by posting on your stories because that's what everybody goes to. They go to the stories. Nobody reads the scroll anymore. There's too many fucking ads. There's too many suggested posts. It's too much garbage. Post engagement is tanking. Instagram is pivoting to Reel in order to juice their net metrics instead of trying to make a better environment for photo posts. There doesn't seem to be a future for photography on the internet. And I know that's a really dire reading, but with the way things are shaping up right now, that is the truth. And if you're a photographer, you should be concerned. I think there's something really beautiful and pure about photography and about the dissemination of that. And that's why I loved being on Flickr and on Tumblr, even as those platforms have always had their own issues. I was able to create a space that was beautiful and rich and full of attribution. And I was able to platform artists that I loved. I can't do that anymore. People are mad. And I think they're right to be. But as image makers, this is really bad. Like, this is quite frankly an existential crisis for the entire industry. I don't want to leave it at that. I want to end this on a good note. I don't really know what to say. All I can really say is, have you enjoyed your ration of community regulated memes for today? Okay, so it's been a couple days since the update went live, and I wanted to get you guys up to speed with a couple of things that took place since I recorded this stream. Starting with Adam Mosseri here is clarifying a couple of the things that people are really frustrated about. So let's just dive straight into that.
There's a lot going on Instagram right now. We're experimenting with a number of different changes to the app. And so we're hearing a lot of concerns from all of you. So I wanted to take a few moments and clarify a few things. The second thing I'm hearing a lot of concerns about right now are photos and how we're shifting to video. Now, I want to be clear. We're going to continue to support photos. It's part of our heritage. I love photos. I know a lot of you out there love photos too. That said, I need to be honest. I do believe that more and more of Instagram is going to become video over time. We see this even if we change nothing. We see this even if you just look at chronological feed. If you look at what people share on Instagram, that's shifting more and more to videos over time. If you look at what people like and consume and view on Instagram, that's also shifting more and more to video over time, even when we stop changing anything. So we're going to have to lean into that shift while continuing to support photos. But we're also going to need to evolve, because the world is changing quickly and we're going to have to change along with it. So please, let me know what you think down in the comments.
So let's quickly look at a couple of these comments, I guess. We don't want to make videos. Adam, lol, bring it back. Instagram in 2012. That's very nostalgic, hits close to home. But I think the mood was best summarized by this TikTok user that Jacob pulled up.
This is one of the most interesting tweets I've seen in a while, but to understand it, we have to look at what it was replying to first. So this is Adam, he's the head of Instagram, and in this little mini thread, he's explaining why Instagram sucks, but why actually that's a good thing and you should like it. I'd love for there to be more friend content in feed, but all the growth in photos and videos from friends has been in stories and in DMs. Now, I could talk for an hour about how this makes no sense. It's like, well, yeah, Adam, because your algorithm has made it so that my friends' pictures never appear in my feed. But that's not what we're talking about right now. The phrase that kind of caught everyone's eye is growth, which takes us to the tweet I mentioned at the beginning, which simply says, what if I don't care if you have growth? And I think this is really pertinent to everything right now. We've reached a point with modern capitalism where all companies expect and are expected to have basically never-ending year-on-year growth, never-ending exponential profit. They're expected to just grow and grow and grow continuously, regardless of if that really makes any sense or is even physically possible. I mean, it's not possible. They can't be happy that they've made billions this year. It has to be a certain amount of more billions than last year, otherwise they've failed. Whereas these days, I feel like not only are they not even pretending to care about us anymore, the users, but also they're actively talking about how they want to grow, and they act as if they want us to care about it too. Like, I don't care if Instagram grows. I don't care if Instagram dies. I'm not invested in Instagram. I use it. It used to be pretty good. Now it kind of sucks. But like, I don't care if you make money, Instagram. Why do you think I care if you make money?
All right. Well, thank you, Benedict. And thank you, Jacob, for making the initial point. A couple other things you might want to check out if you're interested in reading more about frustrations around algorithms. I recommend this Cal Jacob piece on The New Yorker that came out a couple days ago. On Axios, a couple interesting news posts. FTC sued Meta to stop it from acquiring the VR fitness firm, so it's nice to see a little bit of anti-competitive judgment there. Could have been useful in the past, but what are you going to do? Shortly after, they published that Meta posts its first ever quarterly revenue decline, although I think we saw that coming, and reality crashes down on Meta, which points out that the new formats that the company is transitioning to are less lucrative, at least in the short term, and that Meta will face more revenue challenges as the year progresses, which kind of is pretty confounding. I mean, it just highlights what their main interest is here, and that's destroying their competition rather than really going after revenue. Granted, a lot of their losses are due to their heavy investment into VR, which is just not going very well. And lastly, this quick article from Insider about how celebrities and influencers are fed up with Instagram. But I think we already kind of know that now. Anyway, now you're up to speed. Listen, we're going to have more fun down the line. We're going to be doing more photo things. I'm going to try to see if I can turn Twitch in some kind of photo community. I think that's going to be tough. But if I can build this into a community, I would love to use this platform to put our images on here. I think there's so much potential for this space. You know, I used to have tens of thousands of followers on Tumblr. We had a really amazing, rich community of image lovers there. And I wasn't able to transfer that to another website before Tumblr really disappeared into the dark, which is actually something I'm going to be talking about at a later date. Not just what happened, but what made Tumblr such an incredible space for the photo community and for the experience of photography for several years. Of course, I'm going to keep making books. I'm going to make notebooks, photo books, small things. I'm going to play some games. I'm going to be looking at other people's books, maybe play Pokemon Snap with some photographers. I do want to have a lot of fun. I don't want to be all gloom and doom and Zuck and Sweet Baby Rays. But in the meantime, do me a favor. Follow my Twitch. Drop a like and a subscription on the YouTube. Maybe follow my Instagram while that's still somewhat relevant. I gotta embrace the cringe a little bit, right? Take care, everyone, and good luck in the new world.